Yes.
I'm thinking about somebody else. Okay, Ron
All right.
March of the Ron March Show, and he last week Ron talked about the Democrats and the Republicans. I hear some feedback, Ron.
Okay, that's your friend and mine, Andre.
Oh, that's
Everything's
Andre.
quiet now.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Cut him off while I'm here. Pick it up. Go ahead, Bev.
Okay, and last Wednesday, Ron March talked about the Democrats and the Republicans, and so he's going to finish that up, and we will talk about the Indians and who are they? The elves, they. Okay, Ron.
Yes. All right. The Democrat and Republic package has been a thorn in Black America's side for hundreds of years, and I'll say for instance 250 years. Now, we got to understand, Bev, as we start out, that all Moors, we got to remember this, all Moors are black, but all blacks are not Moors. Now, give that a thought for a minute, and then when I talk about those that are black that are not Moors, I've been calling them the Powhatan tribe or the Powhatan Confederation, for lack of a better term at this time. You understand?
Right.
Because there's millions of us in North America on this continent, and everything over here is not Moors, but everything that's black that's over here is everything black that's over here. We know are here, but everything that's black is not Moors. Moors are only ones that are black.
People whose minds can't really take it there with the depth.
Well, can I ask you a question? Yeah. This term Moor, all right, where does it come from? Because the reason I ask that is because as black people, it seems to me that from the time slavery ended, there seemed to be a search and a scramble for an identity.
Yes.
And identity is very important.
It is.
You understand what I'm saying? So my question to you is, and I know also that at least amongst the Moorish Science Temple members, they tend to proselytize. They recruit. Right? So, and so they're constantly telling people, you're a Moor, rather than a person coming to that understanding on their own.
Right.
So then my question then is, if somebody, whether it's a temple Moor or just an individual Moor, subscribing to the ideology of being a Moor, my first question is, okay, where does the word Moor come from? Where does it come from?
Well, you know, beautiful, man. To answer some of the stuff that led up to what you said is one, too many groups, too many religions proselytize in trying to recruit.
The men who's known.
And when they proselytize in trying to recruit, the baby goes out with the bathwater.
Okay.
Wisdom is replaced by getting numbers.
My question.
That's where a lot of the bastardization comes in, meaning that all black people are not Moors.
Right.
Just because at a particular time in Europe, it was customary that people with dark skin were referred to as Moors, doesn't mean that all black people are Moors. That meant that Moors in Europe left a legacy that was associated with people with dark skin. But being a Moor is not something that goes along specifically with skin color. It's that the first Moors...
So are you saying that there are Moors who are not black?
There are Moors who are not what we consider black.
Okay, so what that means is that you can't use the Moor identity to coalesce to build a racial hierarchy, because that's what Marcus Garvey was all about. He was all about building a racial hierarchy. So you can't use Moorism to do that.
Yeah, I mean, some of these terms are more ideological than they are ethnic.
Thank you.
And that's why when
you heard that? The term Moor is more ideological than it's ethnic or racial. Yeah. So stop telling black people that they're Moors.
The story of the Black Indians of America. Williams, Lorenz Katz, Black Indians. Many black people who trace their heritage will not find any African slavery in their family. It is also not a coincidence that many of us blacks have been told by an elder in our family that we have Indian in our blood. There were no red Indians until colonizers began mixing with the indigenous blacks. Below is a list of black native tribes: the Washita of Louisiana and Midwest, the Yamasee of the Southeast, Iroquois, Cherokees, Blackfoot, Pequot, Mohegans of Connecticut, the Black Californians, the Olmecs of Mexico, Darlinite of Panama, the Seminole Indians, the Creek Indians, the Chata, also what Europeans call Choctaw Indians. Archaeological Park, located near Birmingham, Alabama, is an example of how there has been an attempt to suppress the original identity of Native Americans. Since the early 1970s, the Park Museum has statues that depicted the Native Americans as black people. In 2010, those statues were replaced with white Native Americans. How about that for a start? Okay, I just want to check to see if Imhotep David is in the queue. Hold 1 second. Greetings, is this Imhotep Dave? I guess not. So, without further delay, I want to invite onto the show our sister, Chief Warhorse. Chief Warhorse, welcome to the show.
How you doing?
I'm okay. Were you able to hear me before?
Yes, I was.
Oh, okay. I don't see David Imhotep in the queue. So please.
You have watched too much television. My grandmother would not have a television in our house when I was growing up. My mom, I didn't live with my mom. I lived with my grandmother, grandfather, my aunt, and uncle. And there was no TV. And my grandmother would call it a one-eyed devil. She said she didn't want something that could be in her house and talk to her, and she couldn't talk back to it. She didn't want something that was going to show us something that we couldn't tell it nothing back. Well, the one-eyed devil, now I understand, because as a child I really wanted a television. But we didn't get that. I was raised in an Indian village without electricity, without running water, without the television, and we got to listen to the radio. Out of that, I thought in my younger days, well, if we just get that television, I can have some entertainment. Today, at 55 years old, I'm thanking God that we did not have that television, because not having that television gave me my elders. I grew up where they had people 115 years old, 103 years old, in their right mind, still walking, still talking. And that became my entertainment as a young person, and I learned a lot. And I've taken that in the last 35 years to go out and see. Were my people just telling me stories and having me to believe stuff that never exists? Because when I went to school and I told people I was a Shatta, they was like, well, what is a Shatta? If I told people I was part of the Shafunkta, well, what is the Shafunkta? Well, to say Shatta and Shafunkta and someone disown you is like saying I'm from the United States and somebody says, well, where's the United States? Because that's what Shafunkta is to us. That's our location, where we live in this region. And for someone to say, what is a Shatta? Well, that's like saying who is an African American and who is a Greek and who is a German and who is Irish. So when people are able to take your identity and your land identity away from you and still leave you in that place stripped, it leads you to search. And I see around America now, people are searching to find out where do they belong. But a lot of them leave this land and begin searching in Africa and other places and have not found themselves here. What I hope to do today is drop a few ingredients. I do a talk show, and like I told you, my talk show is Cooking with Chief and Serving Up History. And I tell people that we all have an ingredient in our life. And when we bring it together, we can cook up this wonderful dish. Because the ingredients is really what it is. Salt is salt and pepper is pepper. Garlic is garlic and onion is onion. Well, in our life, we need to find out what's facts and go out and get these facts and bring them back And that's what talk shows are allowing us to do, bring back the ingredients and begin to talk. And by the time everybody throws their piece of the ingredients together, we end up with this dish, okay? So the dish that I'm hoping we come out of today on the East Coast is getting people to realize a lot of people that's on the East Coast came from the southern states, okay? And maybe there was a story that someone told them, but they couldn't find evidence on it because it was hidden. But today, with technology, a lot of this stuff that was hidden is coming out. And it's time we go back and start digging. I hear people call themselves Moors. Well, in my research, because I never knew what a Moor was in my life, never heard it in my village, and as I began to speak and do talk shows and stuff, I heard people coming at me with, well, are you a Moor? Are you a Moor? I'm not a Moor. Moor just means black. I am not the Moor that people talk about that comes from the European country and came here like the Portugal people came here to destroy the black Indians that was already here, or should I say the black indigenous. And, you know, that's a highly controversial thing that I'm talking about, but people who classify themselves as Moors need to realize why did the Spanish bring the Moorish people or the black people or the Portugal people to this area? And as you go back to look, it's self-explanatory within their records. They brought them here with them. They were black Europeans seeking the same thing that the white Europeans were seeking, and that was a new land, a new place, and new riches to embark upon. And I couldn't understand how did even Christopher Columbus be declared a discoverer of America when we were here. So my grandfather and I used to talk about it because I got put out of school at a young age because I would not celebrate Columbus Day. And so I got suspended, and my grandfather told me, don't worry about it. Sometimes you have to get knocked down to get back up. He said, so you just got back down in the negative, and you can get back up in the positive. He did not discover America. We were already here. So in my adult days, I decided to go back and see what did Christopher Columbus discover. So what we got to look at, there is a thing called the Christian discovery or the document of discovery. Are you familiar with that, brother?
He's like the Jesus that I hear, that's what I speak. You can deal with it, or you can let it alone. Do right, don't care what you're going to do about it. What you're going to do about it, how you feel about it. But anyway, what was I saying? So anyway, you had a lot of people running away. Anyway, these tribes like the Westo, the Ufala and stuff, they start retreating. And so the Spanish were defeated. So Florida became a safe ground. So we started sending people back down in Florida. And so you had a mixture of a bunch of tribes who became known as Seminole. But most of these tribes that became known as the Seminole, they were not 100% original. Most of them was the mixture of the people that was already here. They was a mixture of the runaways and the natives. They was the grays. And the blues were them who were pure-blooded foreigners. Because all the foreigners were what you call Caucasian. You had a lot of Moors that come over here with the Caucasian. Matter of fact, it was the Moors who brought the Caucasian over here. They were Moors who got off them boats with Columbus Neal and DeSoto Neal. Them were black folk. That's what we call black folk today. It was a Moor who led Lewis and Clark. But he was a Cherokee. The Cherokee had came over way before the European, and they had been here a long time. Probably about 10,000 years or so. And the Cherokee called people like Yamasee, the Westo, Choctaw, the Ufalas, the Tuskegean, the Yazooan, the Mississippian, the Choctaw, the Chickasaw, the Washita. They called them the ancient people. All you got to do is go back in the Cherokee records and find it. Or their stories. I don't know, now that the black folk done damn got it, and the one, now that we waking up as so-called black folk, and recognize that most of this stuff talking about us, they might start trying to change it Because they got a lot of, they always tell you that they got storytellers. Y'all know what a story is, right? Y'all know, you know, when you telling them we were little, they wouldn't know. The old folk, at least around here, what do right, what grew up there. You couldn't call them about a lie, they'll beat your ass. You call them about a lie, but you can say, oh, he telling a story. And, you know, they'll listen to you. But you call them about a lie, they were like a cuss word. And, you know, you weren't allowed to curse because they were trying to get you out of the stinker language that you was in. So you, so you couldn't say nothing like lie. Oh, you know, grown folk beat your ass. You say something like you call them out a lie.
Brother, in closing, go ahead, brother.
So they got these stories.
But now you showed up.
And they ain't never writing on them down, but then now that we reading and we researching what they done said, they want to start changing shit. That's why I do right, try to say as much stuff as he can. But anyhow,
I will never forget.
Hey, brother, and I want you to keep doing what you...
They called, the Cherokee called these, they called them the ancient people because they knew we were here when they got here. The Cherokee were Moors or Hebrews, same people, or Muslims. The Hebrews and the Muslims, they're the same people. If you look at Hebrew Israelites, look at those who are striving to get out, it's the same stuff.
Point them out.
The Quran talk more about Jesus and Moses than it do and Muhammad.
Everybody think that y'all are just the evil.
It's just another story.
Point them out.
Same book.
I think you're a little behind times, brother. We already conquered that territory. We faced off with
videos because I haven't seen nobody come at. Show me a video anywhere, brother. I deal with it off the break. I deal with
Shane TV yesterday was called. I mean, you can just look on there, Shane TV, Aboriginal one. Black Conscious Community Fraud.
Let me tell you something, brother. If people not really paying attention to them, and it's not really influencing our people, and they just making conversation to draw me in, I'm not even going to go and even bother them because then I'll begin to give them credit, or I begin to validate them. So I'm not going to validate them if they just talking heads. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna do that. But you know, if they making some noise and it seemed to make some sense, but it's misguided information, I address it. You know, like a SETI, I address SETI quick. You know what I'm saying? My brother, we cool now, Sinetta, I address him quick. Had no problem with it, brother, polite, quick.
I think Dan Calloway and like Dark Man X in the dress because they slammed y'all through the mud.
Well, these guys, you got to understand that these guys are in it. They in it for the money too, but these brothers ain't gonna answer up. They make pre-recorded videos and nobody can talk to. I watch these guys, man.
I'm trying to figure out what would be a person's position on that. We already acknowledge that there is an indigenous element to us as Moorish Americans, and we've proven that, and we've already done shows on that. So what is it that they would differ with Moors when we've already addressed that particular approach, brother? What is their beef that they would have with that?
And I'll say for instance 250 years. Now, we got to understand, Beth, as we start out, that all Moors, we got to remember this, all Moors are black, but all blacks are not Moors.